Welcome back. All right, a little bit of a news of the day, mostly injury-related stuff because it's that time of year, we're around the middle of the year. Jack Campbell, skating, not set to return, so he's still out for Toronto. The good news is Hutchinson's been playing well. Anderson's in the net tonight for them against Vancouver. Things haven't been going too badly for Toronto without Campbell, and again, as long as they can get wins here and there with Hutchinson in net, they'll be fine. Some good news for St. Louis after some bad news. The bad news being that Parayko's on the IR now with an upper body injury, so he's going to be out for a while. The good news is Vlad Tarasenko's been activated. He's supposed to make his return tonight against the LA Kings. Finally back in the lineup. So for St. Louis, a team that's taken so many hits. So many hits when it comes to injuries. Finally, some good news. So here's to hoping they start getting more healthy bodies back and fewer guys getting hurt along the way. And we'll see which line Tarasenko slots in on and where he ends up. Where he slots in initially may not be where he ends up. This is a team that's been playing pretty well despite all the injuries. When you consider all the injuries, it's remarkable they've been able to string some wins here and there together. But yeah, we'll see how things go with Tarasenko back in the lineup. So, for people who might be curious, Brandon Carlo has been released from the hospital. He was injured, of course, in that hit from Tom Wilson last night, the hit that keeps on generating discussion today, and it's going to generate plenty from here on. So yeah, he's been released from hospital. We have no idea how long he's going to be out. You have to think he's going to miss some time. If he was held in hospital overnight, odds are it was due to concussion to keep him in the hospital for observation. So I'm going to go ahead and guess 2 weeks minimum. That's my guess. Minimum 2 weeks. But hopefully that's not accurate. Hopefully he's back relatively quickly. Brandon Carlo is one of the more underrated defensemen in the league. Kevin Adams, the GM of this team, he has said that the play that the team has displayed is unacceptable. The effort level is unacceptable. Now, what's interesting is he said this yesterday, and of course today wasn't any better. And at some point, something has to give. So whether it's a change behind the bench, whether it's a trade, whatever happens, you would think it's going to happen soon. We're about a month away from the trade deadline, but this goes way beyond anything with trade deadline and potential rentals. This whole team, everything is just so broken that if you told me Buffalo doesn't win a game the rest of the season, I'm from the future, Buffalo doesn't win a game the rest of the season, it's insane. I would at this point say, yeah, that sounds about right. It is unacceptable what's going on with Buffalo, and it's up to the new GM to really show that he's going to turn this around, because this is a fan base that once you're able to get fans back into attendance, you're able to have buildings capacity. I don't know that Buffalo continues that unparalleled support that they've shown for bad teams over the years. I think we're getting to the point where Sabres fans are kind of tired of it and kind of tired of watching the team lose all the time. So this is when he can do one of two things: either really put his stamp on the team or potentially risk further alienation of the fan base. It is not an easy job turning around the Buffalo Sabres right now, because I don't know where you start. I don't know what you start with, and I'm not sure that it's a quick fix. It's not. But yeah, so that's Buffalo news for today. Tune in tomorrow for the next drama from the Buffalo Sabres, which I'm sure there'll be more because they play first thing tomorrow morning. So against the Islanders again. So yeah, that's got a lot of potential, that one. Anyways, Matt Duchene. This came out yesterday after the news of the day while I was doing videos and stuff. He's out three to 5 weeks with a lower body injury, so he didn't play today for the Nashville Predators. It's been a rough go for Duchene in Nashville. The puck's just not going in the net, and now he's out for 3 to 5 weeks. So that's not going to make things better. And Nashville, of course, is in a rough spot when it comes to the cap and when it comes to what they're going to do, as they're now 10-14, and the playoffs get to be more and more distant as a possibility for them as the weeks go on. This shortened season, this tournament style of play where you're always playing against divisional rivals, it feels like that's stretching out the standings a little bit quicker than it normally does during an 82-game regular season. And we're seeing which teams are in the playoffs and which teams are not going to make the playoffs more profoundly revealed to us earlier than normal. Normally, we would see maybe 4 or 5 teams a month and a half into the season. We go, well, their season's probably done. But now it feels like you've got probably about 10 from the looks of the standings right now that you could make an argument, well, their season's probably done. So if Nashville's going to make that argument, it's up to David Poile what he's going to do from here. And from an ownership standpoint, how do you feel about David Poile as general manager? How are the fans feeling about David Poile right now as a general manager, with the Johansson and Duchesne contracts being as they are? So yeah, there's that. And then, of course, like I said, the news that everybody's waiting on right now is, so how many games is Tom Wilson going to be out? They offered him an in-person hearing via Zoom. That means it can be 5 or more games. Can be. And that usually means they want to hear his side of it. What's interesting is there was no penalty on the play. And I'm still seeing some people argue, throw him out of the league forever. And then I see an argument on the other side from people saying it's a clean hit. So it shouldn't be penalized, it's a clean hit. And the fact that the opinions are this divergent tell me that my opinion on this all the time has always been, and it still stands as, we need to just take the intent part out. And if you contact the head as profoundly as Tom Wilson did, and whether you can argue shoulder contact first or not, or whatever you can argue, that hit was predatory. Tom Wilson had been on the ice. He had been trying to stir things up. He'd already tried to get Frederick to go with him a couple of times. He was already PO'd, and then he just absolutely smashed Carlo into the boards. And so I've argued for a long time that the head hits should just be penalized no matter the intent, no matter the point of contact being a shoulder. And Gary Bettman himself has come out and said, well, we can't get all the head hits out of hockey. That's not going to happen. But I think the whole intent thing kind of throws things off, and I think we then get into all the semantics. Was Carlo injured? Yes. Did he end up in the hospital? Absolutely. Was it intentional on Wilson's part? Yeah, he hit him pretty hard into the boards, and I would argue that it was a brutal hit. And so we'll see what the NHL does from here, but I think there needs to be some kind of penalizing for head hits. The World Juniors, I thought, had it right. Hit to the head, automatic 10-minute misconduct. No two ways about it. If you contact the head, automatic 10-minute. I thought that was great at the World Juniors. I was like, there's clarity to this. And then it just takes out all of that. But what was the intent? No, automatic 10-minute misconduct for a head hit. Done. And so you then have the opportunity, so that 10-minute head hit then gets reviewed, and they have the opportunity to either ban the player for a game or two or say, no, we feel the 10 minutes was enough. So the NHL, we're still here. We're still having this debate. It's all these years later. I think we need just black and white. Just it is or it isn't. And I think the gray areas, and that applies to goalie interference as well, which is supposed to be brought up at the next GM meetings. That's a problem too. So the NHL still has these gray areas. Just get rid of the gray areas. Just make it so it's a black and white issue, and fans will kick and scream at first. But within a half a season, once we realize that, okay, that's that, then it's fine. Think of it like the slashing on the hands. Slashing on the hands a few years ago, not considered to be a big deal. Then Mark Mathot, the ugliness of him losing the tip of his finger to a Sidney Crosby slash. And now any kind of slash on the hands is automatically a penalty. And players accept it, coaches accept it, and everybody around hockey seems to accept. If it's if it's a slash on the hands, it's a penalty. And so we need to have that kind of clarity when it comes to the goalie interference and when it comes to the head hits as well. Complete clarity, and I think you'll see a lot less complaining. It'll still be there. There's always going to be complaining. Tonight, there's an important game milestone being reached by Vancouver Canuck. Alex Edler playing game number 900. He is the first defenseman to play 900 games as a Canuck. And for anybody going, didn't Olin? Nope. He didn't. Edler's the first, and Olin would have if not for injuries, and Sami Salo probably would have played 2,000 games if not for injuries. But so he joins the Sedin brothers and Linden as the only players to have played 900 games as a Canuck. So that's not a small number. Or that's, in terms of games played, it's a very large number, and it is a small number of players who've reached that total in Vancouver. And it is tough for a Vancouver defenseman with all the injuries Vancouver defensemen have gone through over the many, many years. This year hasn't been as bad. This year's actually been okay. But in a standard year, Vancouver defense kind of looks like what Pittsburgh's gone through this year. Or St. Louis. That seems to be every year for Vancouver, and so far, knock on wood, that hasn't been a problem. There are all kinds of other problems in Vancouver. That hasn't been one of them yet. So kudos to Edler. I think it's probably his last season. We'll see if he decides to come back for one more year. I'm sure the Canucks will talk about bringing him back on a cheaper contract. But, I've had my ups and downs with Edler as a fan. And, full credit to him for playing 900 games as a Canuck. And tomorrow, Keith Yandle will reach game number 1,000 for the Florida Panthers, which is not insignificant considering before the season started, there was talk of him being a healthy scratch, talk of him being traded, talk of the Florida Panthers not being happy with him, not seeing a spot for him in the top 6. Now, not only does he have a top spot in the top 6, not only has he continued his consecutive game streak, he's going to hit game number 1,000, and Florida is one of the top 3 teams in the National Hockey League in the overall standings. That's how quickly things can change in hockey. There you go. Let me know your thoughts regarding any of these topics. When the suspension comes down, I will do a video on that. I need to do a video on Wilson. So if I need to put a whole board together, I may just do that tomorrow rather than doing that tonight because there's a lot of games on. There's a lot going on. So depending on when that suspension comes down. Because the one thing I've seen people say is, well, they're not going to suspend him because it's Wilson. You mean other than the 20-game suspension he had that got reduced to 14 games? They've suspended him before. If anything, that's why he's probably getting the call, is because a play where you'd give the benefit of the doubt, because it's Wilson's name, they won't. So, yeah, if anything, they're more likely to throw the book at him. At least I think so, but hey, we'll find out. Let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.